winning in half the time.
Let's leave the surprises to Tommy. We do predictable electricity costs and savings you can actually see.
You know energy.
You know energy. You just know.
Hello there, everybody, and thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome to the show, and I hope you enjoy what happens here over the next hour or so. And to find out who our first guest is, let me hand you over to our MC for the evening, the beautiful Fred Cook.
Thanks, Tommy. Well, our next guest is Stephen Hendry.
How are you?
How you doing?
Nice to meet you, fella. Really nice to meet you. Yeah.
How are you?
I sat beside you once at a poker tournament in Dublin.
Really?
Many years ago.
Did you take my money?
No, I didn't. No. I was impressed by your assertiveness.
Right.
Yeah, anytime I see you on telly and stuff like that, I know you pretend to be a nice guy.
Right.
But I think you have that, is it a killer instinct or something, arrogance is not the right word, even though there's arrogance in it. Mm-hmm. I remember the footage that exists of you winning, I don't know if it's the first world title, you kind of yeah, you're kind of a cross between a mullet and like it's a lovely girl's haircut. And there is a sense of you, there's a sense of entitlement, but also of delight and of claiming your place. Yeah. Whereas when Steve Davis won his first one, he's like, oh, Jesus, I can't believe it. Whereas you were kind of like,
I mean, I turned pro at 16 and I did an interview in the Daily Record in Scotland and because it was unknown for, especially a Scotsman. We had no history in the top of snooker at all. But in the sport, to turn pro at 16 was very rare in those days. And so I did an interview and they said, oh, what's your ambition? I said, I'm going to be world champion by the time I'm 21. And whether I actually believed that or there was a bit of a bravado or whatever. So I actually achieved it. And it was like, I wouldn't say I expected it, but it was just like, this was the path that I went on. And that world champion, I think I won the semi-final, became world number 1. And then beat Jimmy in the final to be world champion.
What made you so good at snooker? And tell me about. I want the specifics of technique.
Right.
Like what?
I started by getting a small table, a 6 foot by 3 foot table for my Christmas, and I started playing on that. Started within 3 or 4 weeks, I was making sort of 30, 40, 50 breaks. I was totally naturally talented, so my cue action was quite natural. It was like sort of pumping action, up and down sort of thing, very fast. Not what it was at the end of my career, completely different. Having gone through 2 or 3 coaches, so coaches sort of take that sort of naturalness away from you. I think I sort of copied Jimmy White a wee bit, but then when as a turned pro and wanted to be the best, Davis was the one that was winning everything, and that's what I wanted. So I kind of modelled my career a little bit on not his technique as such, but my manager and his whole ethos of how he went around being the best, the work ethic, the hours and hours of practice, not mixing with other players, sort of going down that road. I mean, Steve wouldn't give you a nod in the desert. You know, if he walked past you, wouldn't say hello, basically. And that was a kind of, I probably took his miserableness on to another level, probably, with the way I did it. But I think that's, you look at the top players now, Ronnie doesn't really socialise with other players. Judd doesn't really either.
So the action then was kind of fubum. Foom.
Yeah, it was very quick. Very quick. I didn't get a sort of pause at the end of my backswing until I started working with Frank Callan. That was his big thing about pausing at the back to sort of
nailed it.
See, Frank Callan wouldn't like that. That wasn't a bit of good timing there, was it? But yeah, the backswing was too long there. That's like that. I wasn't meant to hit that glass. But yeah, so that it kind of like gets your eyes back on the ball. And what that did was enabled my long potting to be more consistent.
Yeah.
Through the 90s, I was expected to win. I won 5 world championships in a row, and I just took it for granted I was going to win. then all of a sudden you're in a situation where you take it for granted you're going to lose. And it's all about confidence and losing that invincibility that you had.
Why did you get worse at snooker?
I think there's a variety of reasons. I mean, as I say, I've had 2 or 3 coaches, and I think coaches sort of take you out of the way you naturally played the game. I mean, my cue action, the last 10 years I used almost a different cue action in every tournament, just trying things all the time to try and get back to that sort of spark that you had when you were young. I think you're not as dedicated, I think, at the end of your career as you were at the start. I used to practice from the age of 15, 16, sort of 6 hours a day, 7 days a week on my own, and do that all the way through when I was winning. And it's very difficult to keep the enthusiasm for that as you get older. And for me, I stopped being as dedicated near the end. And my game, I developed a sort of a yip in my cue action. Which is a horrible word. Golfers have it, darts have it, and it completely dragged my game down.
Is it a kind of a twitch or something?
It's basically, for me, it starts with the grip hand, and I played a shot. It was around about the sort of early 2000s. I played a shot, and it didn't go through at all. You're supposed to go through, hit the cue, and feel a nice follow through, a nice acceleration through the ball. I sort of stopped and sort of decelled, and I was like, "Oh, that was horrible. I didn't like that. It felt terrible." And you kind of forget about it, and then maybe a couple of tournaments down the road it happens again for a different shot, and you think, and then as I say, it stays in there, and then you're frightened of that shot, so you play the wrong shots to avoid certain shots because you don't know, I can't play that shot again. I don't want that experience again.
Wow. What kind of adventures did you have after snooker?
Well, as I say, I retired in 2012. Aged. That's a good question. I'm going to have to think of maths now. That's terrible. 39, 40-ish.
Okay. Were you born around 69 or something, were you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'll let you work it out.
Same age as me.
Oh, really?
54.
But I signed a contract before I knew I was retiring. I signed a 10-year contract with a company in China to promote Chinese 8-ball pool.
Oh, yeah.
So they employed me as the ambassador. So I basically spent the next sort of 7, 8, 9 years. I've been to like 60 cities in China, just going around, basically eating and drinking my way around China.
Why did you do that?
I've always loved traveling.
Yeah, and you can say the money, it's okay.
No, yeah, I mean, the money was okay. It was kind of, a replacement for the earnings from snooker, really. But I've always loved traveling.
So the adventure that came and went.
Yeah, and obviously commentating and immerse myself in sort of talking about the game rather than playing it, which I still do. I enjoy. Not every match. There's some matches that you it's quite difficult to sit through.
Yeah, of course.
But I listen. Snooker's all I know, so I'm always going to be involved in it in some shape or form.
Yeah. So you're the same age as me.
Right.
54. What are you?
I'm 55, but you've got to get 55 this year. Then,
yeah.
But,
highest break in snooker is 66.
Impressive.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Peaked that and then downhill ever since.
Right.
Do you have children?
I have 2 sons, yeah.
And how are they?
They're fine, yeah. They're good. They live in Scotland. I'm divorced, so they live in Scotland. I live down south now in England, but they're fine.
Are you okay with the type of dad that you are?
No, I'm probably I haven't been the best because I think in sport, in individual sport, you make sacrifices to get to the top, and sort of things don't work out. Like family relationships can be difficult and can be sacrificed because I was all about being the best in snooker, and snooker was all that mattered. So that makes you a very selfish person, and I think it takes that special kind of sort of selfish person to get to the top in an individual sport. I mean, you look at most top sportsmen who've dominated sports, and most of them pretty much all are divorced or been divorced. Let's say Faldo was one of my heroes. Yeah. Tiger was one of my heroes. So there's casualties in terms of getting to be the best.
I suppose if you're... It's that thing of looking back with regret is strange one because it's, I'm not sure how beneficial it is, but at the same time, just as you were talking there, I'm thinking, you know, is it stupid to say, God, if only I'd had the wisdom to say to women, stay away from me till I'm 40?
Yeah. I mean, it's something to think, because it's you almost think like, you know, the way you think that might not as even been there, because you weren't really paying any attention. Even when I went home after tournaments, I'm thinking about other stuff, and you're not really fully involved, fully there. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you've lost in one tournament, you're probably thinking about the next one, or why. I mean, when I lost, you know, I used to sulk for days. I was like the worst loser in the world. So yeah, it's and you regret taking that out, or putting, you know, people that you're involved with in that sort of situation.
Do you think they forgive you?
That's a good question. Probably I'm not qualified to answer that.
Do you hope they do?
I would hope, but I would doubt.
Where did you grow up?
I was born in Edinburgh.
Okay.
My school. Once I started playing snooker, school just went. I mean,
when you turned pro at 16, did you leave school then?
I'd left school at 15 and a half. Yeah, I had 4 O-levels. I turned up for 2, failed them, and didn't turn up, but didn't bother turning up for the other 2. Already my life was just snooker. I knew that. Unfortunately, I had parents who, it wouldn't be the advice you'd give now.
No.
They didn't force me to sort of, you know, you must do your homework. You must sit your exams. You must revise. Snooker can come at the weekends or later.
Yeah.
Basically, they allowed me to. I think, especially my dad earlier on, he believed I was going to be a world champion very early on. And my mum did as well. But my dad was like, he doesn't need to. He's going to be world champion.
And when did you become aware that you could earn your living from this? I
was sort of supporting myself from the age of 14 as an amateur. You could earn money as an amateur in snooker. So from the age of 14, I won the Star of the Future at Pontins in Prestatyn, North Wales. At 14 years old, just turned 14, I got £100 cash and £100 Pontins vouchers.
In 1983?
And yeah, something like that. So I bought a watch for 50 quid, gave the other 50 to my mum. But then after that, basically I supported myself. Bought my own if I wanted to buy records or clothes, or from then on, I was earning enough to look after myself. And it didn't become a job really until my manager Ian Doyle took over my career.
Yeah.
My dad couldn't have supported me financially as a professional. It was okay, I'm amateur, the odd tournament taking me, but up and down the road to England all the time, he couldn't have done it. So we needed someone to look after that part of my career. And when Ian took over, it was basically, if I'm going to support you, everything, take care of everything, you're going to work. And it was him that started the regime of 7 days a week, 6 hours a day. And that was when it stopped being a hobby and started being a job.
Wow. When you were, like, to be world champion 5 times in a row is, I mean, it's so domineering, it's so commanding. It's, do you remember what that felt like back then? Did you think this will never end?
Yeah, pretty much. It was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It was fantastic. I mean, at the Crucible for 5 years, I just felt that nobody could beat me.
And what about the thing then, which I imagine may have been difficult, is that you're feared by every player, you're respected by every player, no one wants to go up against you, everyone knows you're the best in conversation, in records, to then noticing that guys aren't paying you that respect. And
I know it's amazing. It's in the media and everything as well. You know, in the 90s, you know, you'd read the papers and Stephen's going to win the world championship. Stephen's the best. He's the man to beat. To like 10 years later, Stephen's gone. You know, is he going to win another match? He's not the player he was. So, and all that's going in there. The good stuff's going in there, and then all of a sudden the bad stuff's going in there.
But also from other players and the way they might look at you and kind of go, that's... Yeah. What do you, as a 55-year-old gentleman now, what do you worry about?
I don't know. In terms of snooker, you know, I always want to be able to play snooker. I mean, I do exhibitions. I'll always love, getting my cue and potting balls, getting a room and just playing away. So I'd worry if I wasn't able to do that, to actually play snooker again.
Yeah. But so I asked you what you worry about, and the only thing you were able to tell me was snooker. It was almost the same when Roy Keane was on the show. That Roy was kind of going, I don't really worry that much about things. And I wonder, is it something about being a very elite, focused sports person? That there's a kind of a real, natural, healthy practicality about you, even though it's years afterwards. But you just
possibly
you don't crumble mentally.
No, I don't. I try not. I don't really give much attention to things. If negative things, I tend to think, then sort of get rid of it, kind of thing. But no, I don't. I wouldn't say I'm a massive worrier about things.
Yeah.
Just go through life, really.
And I don't want. I've no intention of prying, but I'm just kind of curious. Then, say when your marriage broke down, were you able to just kind of plow on and kind of go, or did that knock you on the? Like, have you ever been knocked onto the flat of your back? Yeah. Is what I'm asking.
Oh yeah, I mean that was obviously a horrendous period, going through divorce when there's kids involved and everything. It's terrible. But I've always been able, as I said, to put things to compartmentalize things and get on, sort of thing. I mean, so that's why my traveling to China was huge for me, I think. And it was the same when my own parents broke up. They got divorced. I had snooker, and it's kind of been, I've got something I could sort of put that to one side and forget and channel my interest and my focus onto snooker.
Do you think it's a healthy thing to be able to compartmentalize like that?
I think so. I mean, I think some people might perceive it as cold and lack of feelings and stuff, but I think it's important to, you don't ever forget it.
Yeah.
But to put it to just one side, to be able to, because if you don't, then you're just going to spend your whole day, I think. I mean, as I say, I've had to, make sacrifices and be selfish, and I think I always will be. I'll always, I think that's what I do is just through my career and possibly because I've supported myself since I was 14.
Yeah.
It's been me looking after me.
Yeah.
That's probably why I'm always going to be like that.
It was my dream to become a professional snooker player.
Really?
Yeah, but I just, number one, my father wouldn't let me play because in the 80s, in the late 70s and 80s in Navan, snooker was kind of seen as, there's something dodgy about snooker halls.
Right.
But I would have fantasized about that, and I remember watching all you guys when I was, watching the guys before you when I was growing up, and then watching you and it just wasn't my. Right. I didn't have it. But 66 is not a bad break. In fairness, I'll settle for that. Stephen, it's been an absolute.
Ireland, we're bringing it back.